we hit this topic, which is obviously always comes up whenever we talk about technology, security and privacy. Could you guys just kind of maybe mention some things you've learned recently that would be knowledgeable for the audience, or some best practices that you follow that you would want to share? We all know this is a topic, hot one. So, Darren, you want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would have to, my philosophy probably would be older, more dated best practices, which is defense in layers, right? So we need to have security and controls inside the applications. And when we design and architect applications, we can build a lot of that right into the platform. So the user doesn't know what necessarily we're all doing underneath the covers to keep that conversation secure and private, but we build a lot of that into the platform. So the application layer itself is really a primary defense, right? On top of that, you can have mobile device management or mobile application management tools that can wrap that with some additional security. And then obviously the connectivity to back-end systems, and then making sure those have physical security and all that fun stuff. I think one of the biggest challenges of all is what Bryce was making reference to, is people want quick, easy access, and that's almost always at odds with the best security, right? So social engineering is the absolute easiest way to break any security scheme, right? So if I know your wife's name, your kid's name, your dog's name, right? Unfortunately, I've got a decent shot at figuring out how to get into the system. And I get in through the front door instead of trying to break the locks on the windows. So those are things we try to think about. The other point I would make is it needs to be risk adjusted. So think about what data you really have there and how critical is that data. There's a big difference between a bank holding, account information and Randy's picture. I love Randy, right? But Randy's pictures of the sidewalk, right, that it got shoveled at 12:04 a.m. have a different security profile. So there's not one answer for everything. I think what we try to do is figure out what's really at risk and what's the appropriate level of security that you need to build in around that, based on the content you're protecting.
I agree with what Darren said. I mean, there's security, I think historically, most companies, not necessarily certain, but it's largely reactive. It's you're scanning for everything you can possibly scan, you're looking for trends, and you try to go correct when something bad happens. There's a much more of a shift to being proactive and doing penetration tests on a more regular basis. Things we do at Cerner, we've built in security assessments into the software development life cycle, into the production release cycle, so that we're constantly doing those checks and balances that Darren talked about to make sure we're not introducing something we could have caught. So those measures are there, and I agree with you. There have been some recent, news stories out there about records that were leaked, and there's various reasons why that happened. They weren't our systems, by the way. We were not the problem. But even kind of come back to the mobile topic, things like authentication into an application, for example. Users hate keying in username and password. You're all users. Keying in username and password into a phone browser. It's the most painful, thumb-breaking thing you do, right? They hate doing that, but if they have to do it, they want to do it once, and they want it saved in a token down to that device, and they have to do it again, right? We can't do that in our world because of the data that's on those phones potentially, so we have to expire those, which means potentially users constantly logging in. What you said earlier, they want it quick, quick is the number one rule, right? That kind of just destroys that approach. So even things we've learned, from our identity provider application, we've instituted a 4-digit PIN, because if I do have to authenticate all the time, it's easier to do your quick 4-digit PIN, just like a phone unlock, right, than it is to type in your username and password. So things that we didn't probably initially think of when we started going down that path, but we've learned is very painful for users. That maybe is something that you guys have yet.
I think one other cool thing that's coming that I do think will be a big move forward is on the newest iPhones, there's Touch ID. They've now exposed that so at the application level, we can start to use that too. So, and I think on the Android side, you're going to start seeing some different biometric authentication mechanisms being built into phones. And I think that will be a huge step forward, right? The sooner we get rid of passwords, the better.